Hello, I'm James Hier. Welcome to Marketing Dividends, where we look at marketing's new and expanded contribution to company growth. I'm joined this week by Amanda Banfield, Managing Director of Mondelēz. Not a brand everyone's familiar with. That would be Oreos, Cadbury's, that's right?
Exactly, household brands in chocolate, candy, biscuits.
Amanda, how is marketing contributing to growth at Mondelēz?
You said it very well.
Thank you.
So we see ourselves as a growth company. We're operating in snacking globally, and our plan is to kind of grow all the categories. So in that sense, everyone's job's growth. But it's really for marketing to kind of spearhead and lead the charge. So they're the ones who work out category by category, what are the big growth opportunities, which brands are we going to prioritise to go after those, and then which kind of technology platforms do we think we should be really focusing in on to continue to win in those spaces. And then marketing's the part of the organisation that will really lead the business through making that opportunity come to life.
You've come to the managing director role through marketing. What capabilities have you had to grow or upgrade in order to make this transition?
I think it's a question of upgrading and probably just sort of expanding your horizon as opposed to fundamentally doing different things. I mean, I've always believed that to be good at marketing, you've got to care about the total business model. I mean, it's great to have a great brand that people know about. So when they think of a snack, they think of Cadbury, let's say. But if they can't find it in store because fundamentally there's no supply, or when they actually buy it and then eat it, they're disappointed because the quality's not there, then we failed. So I think as an MD, you've got to be looking across the total business model and making sure that fundamentally the whole processes of the business are working so that we win every day. I think the second point is great marketers are the ones who are commercial. Certainly we have an expectation at Mondelēz that our marketers do manage the P&L. But I do think generally in the marketing industry, understanding the fundamentals of which P&L levers you pull is a skill that we probably need to grow.
Are there parts of the marketer that you have to leave behind or unlearn in order to successfully transition?
I don't think you can ever let go of being obsessed with what your consumers think of you and your brand and real world connection. So you mustn't let go of that. But as I said, you've also got to combine that with an understanding of fundamentally how we make money. And also caring, I think, even more than before about people leadership. It's probably the other really big thing, because in the end it comes down to what the thousands of people in our business do every day to contribute to us winning with consumers and customers.
Is there a change in vocabulary moving from marketing director to managing director?
I think it's back to this kind of broadening. So we still talk about the consumer metrics, but actually alongside that, we've also got to talk about customer service. We've got to talk about our quality. We've got to make sure that our profitability is where it needs to be. So it's a kind of full gamut of metrics that are delivering that overall P&L outcome, as opposed to being so tightly focused in on a kind of closer set of consumer metrics.
Is this new language more rigorous, more math-based and more commercially minded than marketers have been in the past?
I think we're certainly expecting marketing to be much more accountable. And so in that sense, there is, well, certainly in my business, more of a focus on return on investment and more of a focus on real clarity about what is the plan, how are we going to, specifically, how are we going to unlock growth, what behaviours and beliefs are we influencing, and then how do we know that that's what we're doing and we're actually measuring that, and then kind of holding marketing, as I said, accountable for delivering that. So I think it is more focused and perhaps more kind of hard facts based than it has been in the past.
The change of language, is this part of the era of accountability where marketers have to come to their boards or to their managing directors with hard-nosed metrics?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think we've got to be very clear on, as I said before, the opportunity that we're unlocking and specifically how we're going to do that. So what's the behaviour and what's the belief that we're trying to influence? And then actually measuring through, well, did that work? Did we actually do that? And so we've got a range of analytics that are, first of all, kind of measuring those consumer behaviours and beliefs. And of course, now you've got the opportunity, if you want to measure that down to individual shopper behaviour at the point of buying. And then we're also looking at, did we get a financial return? So, did that campaign actually deliver us the uplifts that we expected? And did that translate into the dollars that we were anticipating? So I do think it's a new area of accountability, absolutely.
Marketing's evolving and so must its tools. What are the type of products or software that you're now bringing to bear to understand the ROI that marketing should be delivering?
I think for us, there's probably two big focus areas at the moment. One is working with suppliers like Nielsen, really to build a suite of analytics which allow us really to understand, are we getting a payback from the investment that we're making in some of our big communication campaigns? So specifically, what's the uplift that we're seeing, at state level, at store level, at SKU level, when we're actually running our campaigns, and are they in line with what we expected? And there's a whole suite, as I say, of tools there that support that financial analysis that get us to a hard ROI measure. And then on the other hand, really now having the opportunity to mine shopper data, again, to understand, have we changed shopper behaviour? And is that in line with what we planned when we kind of built the case for going after this opportunity?
These changes feel like they're accelerating. Where do you see marketing at Mondelēz in the next couple of years?
I think it's going to be a continuation of focusing in on bigger platforms, so really looking to the opportunities that we believe we can scale not only in Australia and New Zealand, but actually across the region and globally. So a real focus to fewer, bigger brand and innovation platforms. Secondly, continuing to accelerate our understanding in the space of metrics and analytics and shopper understanding in particular. And then I think the third big area for us is really upskilling ourselves in the space of digital and mobile, and really getting more into the space of more immediate and direct communication.
The change in language, the growing remit. Marketers' networks and spheres of influence used to be agency land. Has this changed at Mondelēz, and do you see it changing dramatically going forward?
I think it's absolutely evolving. I think the days of us all having long lunches and spending 6 months crafting a perfect 30-second commercial are well and truly gone. And that's probably a good thing, although sad in some ways. But I do think that we're moving on to focus in some quite different areas. So on the one hand, being quite strategic and really thinking about, as I said before, what's the category growth? Where's it going to come from? But then actually getting down to being really specific around individual behaviours and individual shoppers. So suddenly you've got a whole raft of different people and different capabilities that you need to kind of foster and connect with.
In order to help others outside the industry move on from where marketing was, do you think marketing needs a rebrand?
Possibly. I think there's still pockets of CFOs in this country who think that we do just sit around, thinking fluffy thoughts and making great ads. So yeah, I think the way we do that is keep coming back to being accountable and demonstrating the returns that we're delivering.
Building the marketing capability at Mondelēz seems to be partnering, outsourcing with third parties. Is this a route to market for you to keep ahead of the curve?
It's a definite strategy for us to kind of learn faster. And I'd say there's 3 areas where we're really looking to build new kind of partnerships to get up the curve faster. One would be the area of analytics and really the whole area of understanding ROI, where we're working closely with outsourced partners who are really helping us, frankly, crunch the data, but then more importantly, generate the real insights from that we can actually do something about. The second area would be digital and social media, where we've partnered with some of the big kind of global leaders in this space like Facebook and Google, and they're actually coming and working with our marketers specifically on projects for our brands that get us a great outcome in the market in the short term, but much more fundamentally, we learn from that. We learn a new way of thinking and doing. And we've just actually here in the last 6 months in Australia brought a great global program called Mobile Futures, where we've actually partnered with 5 startup companies in the mobile space. And that's been an amazing experience for our marketers to actually get to work with entrepreneurs who think completely differently from the way we do in a big corporate. And at the same time, we've really together been pushing the boundaries of testing out some new mobile technologies and seeing how we can use that as marketing tools. And then the third area for us is very much in the space of innovation, where we've actually built an innovation centre at our Ringwood facility here in Melbourne. And that innovation centre is a space where we now partner with a whole range of SMEs from across the food industry on really thinking about the start of the innovation funnel. And again, it's us learning together different approaches to innovation.
Are you going to keep hold of any of your marketers now they're exposed to these startups and new companies?
Well, I think really for us, the future of our total employer brand is actually that we continue to grow and learn. And I think the biggest risk for us is we kind of get stuck in our old ways. It's got to be the case that we're bringing exciting opportunities for people to learn and do things really differently. And specifically in the marketing space, I think we've got an opportunity to really be leading the way in some of these areas, which then keeps our marketers because we're doing the most interesting, exciting stuff.
Where do you stop learning from these third parties and actually bring it in-house? And how do you determine what will always stay outside, or for at least the short term, and what you could bring in and what you should bring in?
I think it's a really good question. I think we're clear that our marketers need to be fluent in these areas, need to know what questions to ask, and need to know what to care about and what not to care about. But there are some specialisms that will never be part of our core. I mean, in the end, we are experts in a broad consumer space of making delicious snacks. And we're not ever going to be amazing experts in the space of data management, for example. So I think just being clear all the time about what's the business we're really in, and then critically here, what capability do our marketers need to have to be able to leverage these new tools and opportunities, rather than saying we've got to have all of it in-house.
So mobile futures will be quite interesting then. So, I mean, that feels like a learning area. It's potentially agility and the principles of startups that they can bring back to the business. What is it you would look to bring internally from that program?
Oh, that is, I mean, you're absolutely right. It's very much about shifting the mindset. And I think, just as a broad learning experience, that is fantastic. But specifically in the space of mobile marketing, it's actually opening our marketers' eyes to what's going on out there and how fast it's changing, and actually how we can take these new technologies and work with, very small companies that wouldn't typically be the kind of place that we'd be partnering. And we can actually do something that connects our brands to our consumers in a different new way. So that's very much about kind of educating, getting fast up the curve of understanding that the way we connect with our consumers is fundamentally changing. And there's a myriad of opportunities out there, but we need to look in different places to unlock those.
Part of the increasing role for marketing is upping the ante in innovation. But one of the problems with innovations is it doesn't get delivered necessarily this quarter or even within this fiscal. How do you balance the need for longer term innovative thinking from your marketers when on the whole they're remunerated for this year's performance?
Well, we have a 3-year category growth plan for each of the categories, and we're really clear within that what growth we need from the core business and what contribution innovation's got to make. And then we actually build a 3-year innovation pipeline, and we measure its sufficiency. So we say, okay, next year, is there enough in that funnel? Is it going to deliver against the growth we need? And we hold our team accountable to that in their goals in the year. So they're not delivering the innovation until next year, but this year they need to be on track with that project so that it's big enough and it's on time and it'll deliver. And that is part of their annual goals alongside delivering this year as well.
We've talked a lot about the hard-nosed metrics, the new language that marketers have to learn. But what we're seeing is that you need to bring that creativity into this space as well. So how are you balancing that at Mondelēz?
It has to be a blend of both. I think the analytics and all the kind of foundational work around strategy and understanding and being really specific in our planning gives us the foundation then for us to do something amazing with our brands. And that's where the creativity has to come in, to kind of take the brand forward in a way that it means that it carries on being a brand that people are interested in, want to connect to, want to talk about, and that can only come through creativity. So it's got to be both, and we've just got to make sure that we're always holding ourselves accountable to either side of that being in service of the other, and in the end making sure that we do get the growth outcome that we're looking for.
Blend previously was inside individuals. They were great generalists. Is that blend now with specialists in a team that come together to deliver that outcome?
I would say that we are, yes, I would say in the space of creativity specifically, we have a few people internally who really still focus in that space, but I think that is more a specialist art that we're looking to kind of get great partnerships with our agencies from to build and deliver.
The engine for growth at Mondelēz is marketing and product innovation. How are you rolling that out?
Yeah, we're really focused to big brands and big bets in terms of innovation. And if you look at our forward funnel, you'd see 2 or 3 big bets per year there. So they need to work. So increasingly, we're pooling our resources, not just regionally actually, but globally, to get really clear on these are the innovation technology platforms we believe in that can win across multiple markets. And we'll work on that as a collective team. And then it may well be the case that we'll have 1 or 2 markets that will kind of go first, that we'll learn from launching, and then we'll roll that out as fast as we can in other markets. So a recent example here in Australia would be the launch of Cadbury Dairy Milk Marvellous Creations. That was a global idea and a global opportunity that we identified. But then we worked to bring that to life first here in Australia. It was a fantastic success back in 2012. We then rolled that really quite quickly into our European business, both on the Cadbury brand, but also then we could take it across to our Milka brand. And now we're seeing that brand kind of going global across our total chocolate business. And so it's really kind of this question of pooling resources, making fewer bets, but making sure they're really big, and then kind of proving the concept, if you like, and then quickly rolling it out.
The stakes seem to have increased dramatically. Used to be lots of small fires, and hopefully one of them catches. You've got 1 or 2. What are the ways you've mitigated against this risk to ensure that you're going to be successful?
You've got to be really clear all the way back on what is the fundamental insight. Is it an insight, actually? Is it really actionable? And can you actually commercialize that opportunity as well? And then as you go, you've got to keep checking back on, I'm bringing this thing to life, but is it actually now answering the consumer need that I identified in the first place? So there's clearly a very rigorous process that goes on to make sure that the offer that we end up with genuinely is answering the opportunity that we first identified. But then there is a whole machine that swings into action really around saying, how are we going to launch this in a way which makes sure that we talk to the people we need to talk to, we give them the right behaviours and the right beliefs to actually get them to try this product and then come back to it. And I think in Mondelēz, we're really pretty good at execution. It takes an awful lot of effort across our total business, but it's rigorous planning, it's being really clear on the outcome we're trying to achieve, and then checking in on, are we really doing what we said we were going to do?
You've been learning from startups. Marvellous Creations was incubated in Australia. That feels like minimal viable product. That's really exciting if I'm in this market to know that Mondelēz is approaching it in that manner. Is that what you're trying to do as a company?
That's definitely one of the strategies that we employ, absolutely. So we'd say, here's a country or a small raft of geographies that are sourcing from one place, so we can get the scale that actually justifies the launch, but it's not a huge investment. We can learn in those countries, and then we can actually generate a playbook. This is what we did that really worked. This is how you actually launch this to succeed in other geographies, and then you actually pass that to the next round of countries to go, and the wave after that, and the wave after that. And that's been a strategy we've employed very successfully. And Australia's benefited the other way around as well. So if you look at Belvita that we launched a couple of years ago also, that actually was an innovation from Europe and the United States. And then we were able to bring that to this market and say, okay, we're going to revolutionise the breakfast market. Now you can eat a biscuit for breakfast and it'll give you 4 hours of energy. But we knew how to launch it. We knew the story we needed to tell, the education we needed to give people to create an entirely new behaviour for breakfast. Startups
are also really fleet of foot. So how do you pivot when one of these innovations starts to go awry?
I mean, it's absolutely a challenge for us, as with all big multinationals when we're manufacturing on huge scale. Even if we're just here in Australia, it is thousands of tons potentially of product. So it's absolutely a key challenge for us. The answer lies in, first of all, being very, very clear what you need to measure as you go to market so you can get early signs and early warnings. And then also just really managing your forward profile around what you're manufacturing and when you can make changes if you need to, so you've got that flexibility. But it is an area that we continue to learn in.
You've been outsourcing your understanding of data to try and build up your competency, but you've said it's something that you'll never bring in-house. If I look at telcos and service firms, data is going to be integral to their offering. They have an end-to-end relationship with their consumer. We're calling it customer centricity because of FMCG's inability to connect directly on an ongoing basis personally with each of their consumers. does it mean that customer centricity and its attached data is a wave that you can't ride at Mondelēz?
I mean, I think that we have the ultimate direct relationship with our consumers. There are millions of moments every day across this country where people put one of our products in their mouth and eat it. And they're doing that as a snack, which is kind of a discretionary moment where they're looking to put a smile on their face. So I think we have an amazing direct relationship with consumers, and we have to re-earn their trust through those moments every single day. So I think our start point is very strong. The question is, where do we go to from here around allowing them to interact with us and perhaps have a bit more of a kind of feeling that they've got a relationship with the brand as well as the product. And that for us is really the opportunity in the digital space, in mobile communications, and in building what we've already got, which is often a brand that people have grown up with, care deeply about, and fortunately for us, are very interested in. And so it's really a way of just opening the door to us being able to connect a bit more. But I'm very confident that we can do that. There are plenty of examples of us doing it now through some of the partnerships that I've described.
Is your focus on fewer bigger brands, fewer bigger innovations, a reflection of the need to build deeper relationships with your consumers?
It's certainly partly about that. It's really about saying, how can we focus our resources on the biggest brands that people perhaps care the most about and the most interested in, so that we can have ever more direct relationships? Yes.
How does Mondelēz have to evolve in order to connect more deeply with consumers?
We've got to shift our focus from kind of big set piece push communication to actually in a way being a little bit more relaxed about allowing our brand to engage in real time with consumers, and also learn how to be more present in the digital space more often. And if I give you an example, I mean, it's a very famous example now, but our marketers in the States last year, when the lights went out in the Super Bowl, were able to tweet about Oreo. Now, why was that? That was because they were actually sitting ready with their agency in case they saw an opportunity. And it actually took them to kind of be thinking about working in a completely different way, to be available in that moment to do that. And then the other thing was that actually they had the freedom, they felt they had the freedom to express the brand in that moment, recognizing that it was a kind of ephemeral thing in a sense, without the need to kind of, authorize it all the way up the line and make sure that what we said for the brand was exactly in line with, the brand playbook that had been agreed in the last 20 years. So it is very much about shifting our mindset, I think, to being less about big broadcast permanent messaging and much more about kind of fleet of foot, nimble little touch points that are there and then they're gone. And how do we shift our organisation to be able to work in that way?
I hear a lot of marketers actually talking about that Oreo moment. And just as much as they reference the Apple 1984 ad. and my concern is that type of occasion almost isn't scalable. And actually there are very few brands in the world that can do these things. I think Oreo's has shown itself to be one of them because they've done more than just that. But I'm not sure that can be taken and rolled out to entire portfolios. And there's a few brands in the world that can take advantage of this. Yeah. It's not a route to market.
No, my point of view on that is it's a state of mind. It can't be that moment is what you're pursuing because, to your point, 9 times out of 10, it will never arise. But it is actually about saying the way I'm going to grow my brand increasingly is through making myself really open and available in the digital space, as opposed to it all being about just push communication through TV. But absolutely, it's not going to be about the one Super Bowl moment. It's going to be about millions of moments, day in, day out, that allows us to make the brand more available and accessible to our consumers.
And allows you to gather the data that you don't have because you don't have an end-to-end relationship with your consumers.
Yeah, and we need the data to know who we're talking to and what they're interested in. So to that extent, absolutely, we're learning all the time who's interested in talking to us and what they want to talk about.
Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you. I really enjoyed the conversation.
And thank you for joining us on Marketing Dividends.